Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough School Committee will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirements to attend this meeting can be found on the district website, printed in the posting. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so in the following manner: SAM Government Channel, Verizon Channel 37, Charter Channel 192. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the district website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive recording of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. So that said, I'd like to call the Southborough School Committee open meeting to order. Wednesday, March 10th, 2021 at 6:32 p.m. I see that we have all members here. And the first thing we will do is open a public meeting on the 2021-22 budget. And I'll turn it over to Superintendent Martineau.
Thank you. I'm pleased this evening to provide the public hearing on the FY22 operational budget. The Southborough School Committee is committed to providing an exceptional educational experience for all students in a cost-effective manner. The district believes in strong partnerships with parents, the community, and the town government, and believes it's essential in developing a fiscally responsible and educationally sound school budget. The school committee utilizes its budget priorities and the mission and vision of the district as guiding principles throughout the budget process to develop a budget that supports an exceptional education for all students. Copies of the FY22 school committee voted and approved line item budget are available online on the district website and at the central office. And this evening I will be providing a total of the FY22 budget subcategories by function classification as part of the budget, as part of the public hearing process. So the budget is organized into two categories, regular education and special education. So for regular day programs, administration, which is fund code 1000, is $719,453. Instruction, which is fund code 2000, is $11,987,962. Other student services, which is fund code 3000, is $868,543. Operation and maintenance of buildings, which is fund code 4000, is $1,692,794. And fixed charges, which is fund code 5000, is $2,150. The total of the regular day programs is $15,270,902, which represents a 4.67% increase over FY21. For special education programs, administration, which is fund code 1000, is $18,500. Instruction, which is fund code 2000, is $5,028,610. Other student support services is function code 3000, which represents a $506,000 line item. Operation and maintenance of buildings, fund code 4000, is $4,000. And programs with other school districts, which is fund code 9000, is $906,422. The total for special education programs represents $6,463,532, or a negative 2.76% increase over FY21. Total for all programs is $21,734,434, which represents a 2.34% increase over the fiscal year 21 budget. So that concludes the overview of the budget, and I'll turn it back over to Chairman Roger Challen.
Okay. Is there any more business that we really need to conduct in the public hearing, or we've presented the budget, we voted on the budget at the last school committee meeting? Have we really completed our obligation, and can we should we close this hearing and move on to the school committee meeting?
Yeah, I'm not sure if through the chair, if you would like to open up for any questions from the community as part of the public comment period.
Sure. I don't see, let's see. So I guess I'm looking at the attendees. So certainly if there are any questions from the community, we would entertain those. I'm scrolling through the attendees. I don't see any hands up regarding any questions on the budget. I'm going to go through this one more time. And I see none. Do any committee members have any follow-on questions regarding the budget we voted at the last meeting? Sounds like it's unanimous. No questions from attendees, no questions from committee members. So we'll close the public meeting or the public hearing, and we'll move forward into the committee business. First order of business is audience sharing. I am looking back at the attendees, and anyone have anything to share? I see none. So let's move forward into new business, which would be the legislative update. Superintendent Martineau?
Sure, just two legislative updates to share with the committee this evening. First is the FY22 state budget process, and just information around the Student Opportunity Act. And it looks like year one of the Student Opportunity Act is being funded in the governor's proposed budget. And specifically that will benefit Southborough in regards to special education, out of district transportation reimbursement. In the past, transportation reimbursement was for out of district students was not part of the calculation. So in this new law, we should be seeing some additional dollars. So as the budget process moves forward, we'll have more information about what positive impact that could have on the overall Southborough FY22 budget. The second update is really around, I think, the advocacy for educators being moved up and prioritized for vaccinations. As we all know, President Biden did prioritize educators to be vaccinated, and Governor Baker followed suit. So they are, many educators are eligible, all school employees are eligible to be vaccinated. And part of that work has been due to the advocacy of school committees across the state. And that is great news for our organization. We've had many educators already find success and at least have had at least one vaccination. So we continue to be hopeful that more opportunities will present themselves in the near future. And those are the two legislative updates for this evening.
Any questions, school committee? Okay, so we'll move forward to new business, on new business, and we'll talk about school choice. Superintendent Martineau?
Sure, so typically each May, the school committee decides whether it wants to vote to withdraw from school choice. And this evening, I'd like to just provide a brief presentation in preparation for a May public hearing. with the thinking that it provides the committee with information ahead of time so they can do some research and develop an understanding prior to making a vote. So under the school choice law, it's been in place since 1993, and all school districts in Massachusetts are presumed to participate in school choice unless they make a conscious decision to withdraw from the school choice program. So this evening, I will just present a little bit of information about school choice and would be happy to answer any questions. And then at the May meeting, we'll have a public hearing and discussion around whether the community of Southborough should withdraw or take no action, which would result in the public schools of Southborough being part of school choice. So I'm going to share my screen. So just a little bit about school choice. So the inter-school district school choice program has been in place in the Commonwealth a little over 3 decades. So it's been in place for quite some time. And basically it allows a parent or guardian to enroll his or her child in a school district other than the district in which the child lives. And under the school choice law, all school districts in Massachusetts are presumed to participate in and to admit non-resident students through school choice unless they hold a public hearing and decide to withdraw from the program. So a district can withdraw from school choice only if a school committee holds a public hearing on this issue and then votes to withdraw. And it must do so before June 1st. So a little bit about school choice. So students who are accepted into the school choice, the financial benefit to the receiving district is that the district receives school choice tuition for students in a regular education program, which is $5,000 per student. And I'll just point out the per pupil expenditure for the Southborough Public Schools in FY 2018 was a little over $19,000. So again, there's quite a differential between the school choice tuition we would receive and the actual costs for per pupil expenditure. The school committees may, a little bit about flexibility from the school committee perspective. The school committees may specify the schools and grades in which seats are available. So if there's a specific grade where there's low enrollment, a school committee could designate a grade level as school choice. And therefore it is permissible for a school committee to limit the admission of non-resident students through school choice, again, to specific grades, programs, and schools. And then when admitting students through school choice, school districts may not consider or discriminate based on race, color, religious creed, national origin, sex, gender. So again, it is a lottery and students put their names in for school choice, and then it's a random lottery to be selected. If we have 10 seats and 8 students apply for those seats, all 8 of those students are accepted. However, if the number of applicants exceeds the number of available seats, again, the selection must be on a random basis. And again, the selection process must take place prior to July 1st. And then again, assuming that there are open seats, again, prior to November 1st. So just some of the advantages of participating in school choice. So there is a potential fiscal benefit of receiving $5,000 per student. At the same time, the disadvantage is that, again, the cost per pupil is a little over $19,000 in Southborough. It is a means to generate revenue. So many districts who are finding financial hardship for a variety of reasons have entered into school choice, again, as a way to generate revenue. I would not classify at the public schools of Southborough as one of those schools that needs school choice to balance its budget. Some of the disadvantages of school choice is acceptance is by lottery, it's random. So again, if 10 students apply and any of those students have significant needs, the student would be a responsibility of the public schools of Southborough, and we would need to fulfill our educational responsibility to that student. So again, the concern would be that a student could cost the district far more than the tuition received from that student. So advantages allows for flexibility and enrollment decline. So if we're seeing particular declining enrollment, it allows districts across the Commonwealth to, again, look at specific grade levels and programs to try to bolster enrollment at specific grade levels or at specific schools. Disadvantages, so once a student is accepted in school choice, if we accept a first grader, the student remains in district through grade 8. Because we're a regional school system, our Algonquin Regional High School is not a school choice district at this time. So at grade 8, they would need to exit and return to the neighborhood school or the home school that the student lives in. Year to year to decision to opt out. So again, the school committee can decide from year to year to opt out of the school choice program, and a no vote signifies that the school committee will participate. A disadvantage, again, I've mentioned this, potential for a student to require significant resources. And then lastly, one of the disadvantages I see is concern about the fall 21 reopening in COVID-19. There's a lot unknown with reopening this fall. And I think we don't need to add any complexity to that process at this point in time. So again, my intention this evening is not to have the school committee have a public hearing, but rather give information and preparation for a discussion and a public hearing that will take place in the month of May. But I'd be happy to answer any questions or take any comment at this point in time.
I see Kamali has her hand up.
Yes, Greg, has school choice been a program that Ennisborough has participated in before? Or do we have any, can you share any kind of volume or statistics, data that we have on that?
We have not participated in school choice in Northborough, Southborough, or at the regional level. So this would be, if the school committee did not withdraw, it would be a first experience.
And the school choice participation, how broad is the span that the potential students could be selected from the pool?
So any school, any student who is a resident of the Commonwealth could apply, could be part of our school choice. So obviously, geographically, it would be a long bus ride if, some locations, but there's really no restriction from the town as long as the student is a resident of Massachusetts.
Okay.
I have a question, Greg. I think I need a reminder. Not that it would necessarily make sense, but if a family who lived a significant distance away from the district, applied and was successful in getting accepted to school choice, how does the transportation work again?
The family is responsible for transportation.
That's what I recall. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any of the committee? All right, so at this point, the next step is going to be the public hearing. And we'll take a vote at that time, Greg?
Correct. And that will be at the May meeting.
May meeting, all right. So I think that's the only other new business I see. So we're into old business with COVID-19 update.
Sure. So a lot of updates on the COVID-19 front, and I'll start with some of the information that's been happening at the Board of Education and at the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. So as the committee knows and the community knows, the public schools in north of Southborough has put in place plans to return elementary students to a 1+4 model on March 21st. The week of March 21st would be Monday, March 22nd. On Friday, the Board of Education met, and basically the commissioner recommended removing the emergency regulation that allows elementary schools across the Commonwealth, and middle schools and high schools for that matter, to not remain in a hybrid mode. That basically remaining in a hybrid mode does not count for time on learning or structured learning time. So basically it positions elementary schools and middle schools to return to in-person learning 5 days a week to meet the legal requirement. So so the Board of Education voted to give the commissioner that authority. And with that blanket authority, the commissioner communicated that all elementary schools across the Commonwealth need to be in person 5 days a week as of April 5th, 2021. So as a result, the principals and the central office faculty and staff meetings with associations, I have made a decision to shift the 1+4 model, learning model, to a 5-day in-person model to align with the commissioner's guidelines and to meet the structured learning time regulations. So that will begin on March 22nd. So instead of the 1+4 model, it will be a 5-day model for all elementary students. Secondly, actually yesterday, the commissioner released guidance on returning middle school students back to 5 days of in-person learning. So all middle schools across the Commonwealth need to return to in-person learning 5 days a week as of April 28th of 2021. We, working with Principal Hershuk and Assistant Principal Mahoney, have put in place plans to return to a 1+4 model on April 26th. That was our original plan prior to getting this new information. Since the leadership team at Trotter and working with associations and district leaders, we are moving forward with in-person learning 5 days a week at Trotter Middle School, beginning on April 26, 2021. So a lot of moving parts at this point in time. I do plan on communicating this information to the community, but wanted to share this information with the school committee before I sent out a communication to the broader community, pre-K through 8. Also, a change is the vaccination. So many of our educators are having an opportunity to be vaccinated. So that is great news and aligns with our timeline. And then lastly, I won't fill in the details. Many, Keith and Stephanie and Becky and the central office leadership team can fill in the details. This is a complex endeavor. This is not a switch on the wall that says return to in-person learning. There are a lot of moving parts, a lot of logistics, a lot of thinking about our safety protocols and procedures, and principals have been working with our educators and working on scheduling. So it is a tremendous undertaking, but just also want to applaud our principals and leadership team for its work in making sure that we do this in a way that maintains educator and student safety. So at this point in time, I'll stop talking and would be happy to answer any questions and have any of the principals or central office folks share any details.
Jen has her hand up.
I have a few questions. I actually might wait until, from some of them, until after the principals and administrators has spoken. I just had a couple of questions about, first of all, transportation and how we're gonna, whether or not we'll be able to meet that, and how we're gonna keep kids at any kind of distance on transportation. And then I also was curious, do we know, are there estimates on how many of our teachers are going to be vaccinated by the time that we return to school, or any additional efforts that are being made to get those appointments for our teachers?
So let's start with transportation, and Keith Lavoie can talk for hours about transportation.
Yeah, I could, but I'll try not to. Jen, yes, thank you for the question, and to bring it up shortly, we will be communicating with the community about our transportation adjustment for the 5 days of in-person learning. Based on current ridership, we're anticipating that we are going to be within DESE's regulations and guidelines regarding capacity on buses, which was recently adjusted. We're really actually going to be well within it on many of our buses, where there'll be one child per seat. The times in which we would have to have 2 children per seat are where there are siblings that can ride together, and that has been a guideline that's been in place from the beginning, or when we've underestimated the number of students that would be on a route. Our plan is, after we kind of get into the groove of what students will be riding buses and which will not, we'll then be able to make adjustments to the routes. But there is a lot of unknown, and due to current ridership and even the combination of the Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday cohorts together, if they were to ride 4 or 5 days a week, we would be well within that guideline. So we're feeling pretty positive about that. The other thing related to transportation that's important is that we are working with North Reading Transportation to assign seats for every student, and that will be K through 12. This will be something that we're finalizing now, and we'll be communicating with the schools shortly. And then the schools and bus drivers will combine together to inform students about that seat location. So that's a broad overview. We have already received dozens of requests from families who have not taken the bus so far that would like to take the bus now. And fortunately, because of Jean Pinto's work as our transportation assistant, we've been able to make sure that they are routed. So we have not had to do anything drastic to our routing system. It has been minor adjustments and then adding or subtracting students that wish to participate. So I hope that helps. We seem like we're ahead of the curve. We're pretty optimistic about what the rollout's going to be, but I'll certainly have an update about that at our next meeting after we get started.
So just one comment through the chair too. I did forget to mention that the standalone remote program will continue. So families that are enrolled in the state standalone remote program will continue in that program through the end of the school year, June 18th. So there are no changes to that program and families that are enrolled at this time.
And Jen, I can answer your question about vaccination. We do have many resources for staff. A lot of them have already scheduled appointments. We have administrative assistants who are scheduling appointments daily for all staff, for their staff. Some have some knack of getting in. I sent out a list today because tomorrow, pre-registration for 4 days. The state is offering 4 days for K-12 staff only. Coming up, and pre-registration starts tomorrow. That link was sent out to staff along with different VaxFinder sites that they can get on. I know, so there's information is out there, and we do have some parent volunteers who have offered to help people find vaccination also. So I think we're pretty much got the vaccines front covered with helping staff find their places for them to get vaccinated.
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Sure.
Is there, I'm thinking about second doses and how there's a significant portion of folks who are really knocked out from these second doses. Is there a plan in place to support staff, faculty, and teachers and staff to be able to take the time if they do get a moderate reaction?
So we sent that out today also about what to do after your vaccine and when you can return to work, and if you what your symptoms are, what you need to do. So that has been sent out, and I think Heather can follow up with that. It would be probably using their sick time that would need to do.
Yes, so the educators who are able to get the vaccine on the weekends, hopefully their symptoms will subside before Monday. And for those who are scheduling on the different schedules, we're really being flexible with them with as far as taking some time off to go and to get the shot. And if there are side effects afterwards, then they would be able to use their sick time. And this is where the building-based substitutes really will be helpful, because they're already there and already know the school and the students.
Jan, did that answer?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Before I move on, just for a minute, I would like to acknowledge the monumental effort that that this move to in-person involves, and I don't know the details of it for sure, but I'd like to acknowledge the efforts of all the principals and the district staff in moving forward to make this happen. It's really a major project. Katura, I see your hand up.
Yeah, so actually, Roger, I'm glad you said that. I was going to say something similar, that I also would like to acknowledge that how much work has gone into this, and also what I think is really impressive is that so much work has already gone into this before the state mandate came down. And I think that that's just incredible that things are already sort of heading in that direction and positioned so well to just sort of move. I mean, I'm sure that the Monday thing is kind of throwing a little bit of a wrench in the works, but I think that that's just all the work that's gone into it, and everybody's fortitude through all of this. And here we go with one more change. So so it's just great. And maybe these two things will be covered in the other updates, but I just was wondering how the pooled testing is going to work with timing now that for the elementary, once school's happening on Monday, because I think some of the contact tracing, if there's a case, was done through Monday. I'm wondering if the test maybe will be back on Thursday or something like that. And then I assume we'll be deep cleaning over the weekend instead of Monday, but I don't know. So those were the two things I was just wondering how that was going to work timing wise once the 5 days takes effect. Thank you.
I can answer the pool testing one. We will be pool testing on Fridays is what the plan is right now, and we get the results back by Sunday, and typically we are done with contact tracing by Sunday afternoon. So as long as the results come back, and if we're noticing they're coming back too late, we can always switch to a Thursday collection date. So having people in on Monday we have been done with all of our contact tracing by Sunday midday.
Greg, would you like to take the cleaning one, or would you like me to?
I thought we could let Mary Ellen take that one too.
I can take that one too. So this is one of my sticking points all year. So.
Keith is the expert in cleaning protocols.
Yes. No, thank you for the question, Katura. We've been very fortunate, and from the very beginning of all of this, is that our cleaning is happening daily. The required cleaning is happening daily. So the Monday for the facilities staff has been mostly beneficial for the maintenance, and then a few additional projects that get displaced. So what we've been doing is really talking to our facilities staff about what the removal of the Monday will mean. We are kind of evaluating that, but as far as a deep cleaning protocol, those are things that are happening during and at the end of each school day so that it is ready for the next. So I don't see any interruption with that with the 5 days a week.
Okay, thank you so much.
Jess?
Hey, thanks. Some of my questions were already answered. One question I have is for Keith. I think you kind of touched on this, but I didn't quite hear. So if if kids haven't been taking the bus, but now with the return to 5 days, if they want to take the bus, how do they go about doing that?
Of course, that's the one thing I missed and the thing I just wrote down to make sure I brought up before I got that question, but you beat me to it. So part of the communication that's going to be sent out is going to be a form for exactly that. So families that have not used the bus so far, but intend to going forward, they will have the option of doing that. And we do ask them to complete the form to make sure that we've accounted for the student. Even if they don't account for the student, our routes do have them included. So we're not going to have that uh-oh moment when we get a rush of students joining that we weren't expected. Our routes right now are set up so that every student, even our SARP students coming back, would be included, and we still wouldn't be over those DESE thresholds, which is kind of how the system was built. But yes, families will have the opportunity to complete that form, and we will add them right in.
Okay, great. So the routes are set up so that even if everybody wanted to take the bus, we'd be okay with the spacing. All right, great.
That's correct.
And I guess this is also for you. Can you talk a little bit about how, I think at elementary schools, the lunches will probably be okay, that the spacing's okay. Maybe it's more at the middle school that might be a little tricky. Can you talk a little bit about the thoughts about how lunches will work?
You also picked another thing that we've had to solve in the last couple of weeks, but certainly huge thank you to the Trotter staff and Principal Hershek and Assistant Principal Mahoney for their work and really evaluating their spaces. We've had a couple of versions going through of how we're going to accommodate that. And just today, we've been able to expand space even further. So we are going to be using the cafeteria at Trotter. We also are going to be having a tent outside of the cafeteria that is going to be 40 by 100 feet, which would accommodate another a group of students that would otherwise be displaced. Principal Hershek, can you give an update on the status of the band room as well? I don't want to over or understate that current status.
Sure. Thanks, Keith. So I think with the addition of the tent, that's going to provide us with a lot of flexibility. There was consideration at one point to use the band room for overflow from the cafeteria. However, we know our music program is very critical for our families and our students. So our band will run in the auditorium, and our chorus program will have access to the chorus room and the band room, providing distance and flexibility. So we did not take the band room out of circulation for our music program. The tent will provide that overflow. We will be able to maintain 6 feet of distance between all students, both in the cafeteria and within the tent, and also not have to use classroom spaces for lunch.
Okay, that's great. And will the tent be able to be used in bad weather too?
It can. It's going to be able to sustain a lot of bad weather. I don't think it's going to be able to handle a blizzard, but our hope is that it can, and it better not happen in April. So our hope is that it would be able to sustain, a basic rainstorm. I think what Gary and Stacy are planning is that if we do have a long stretch of bad weather, or certainly a windy day like we did have last week, that would have to make some adjustments, and that would mean commandeering the band room probably for that day of the poor weather. But that would hopefully be a one-off where the tent provides us that flexibility for most days. And it's going to be 70 to 75 degrees for the next 3 months. So we're not going to have to worry about that.
Of course it will be.
Mm-hmm.
This is great. I mean, I've been watching, a lot of us are on these email lists for MASC with all these different school committee members, like emailing back and forth. And there's kind of a level of panic like happening right now. And I think all of us, on our school committee are kind of sitting here thinking, wow, we are so fortunate that our district has been planning so far ahead and is so on top of everything and has been thinking about this. Like, it's so far in advance. So I just, we give you guys kudos a lot, but I just really want to say, like, really kudos to everybody planning so far ahead and just really thinking this through really early on and being ahead of the game. It's really evident how far ahead our district is. So great job.
Kamali?
I echo what Jessica just closed with there, and that's definitely been visible since August and before that. I have a question, and maybe if all or some of the principals can take this. Can you talk about some of the day-to-day changes that the students and the families can expect in terms of the learning model? Right now, most families are used to bringing every single book and computer they have, coming back home with all of that. Will there, with the continued use of applications and programs, how will the teaching style maybe be modified? And is it just going, if there is a summary top level kind of answer, every teacher will do something different, but if there's kind of a general change that's been discussed, could you share that?
I think I can speak to that a little bit. So because each of our students will have their own desk now, it won't be a shared desk. They'll be able to keep a good amount of their items in their desk. We haven't really discussed about devices, but I think devices would probably travel back and forth just in case we did have a snow day. Hopefully we don't have any snow days, and Mr. Lavoie has already said we're not, so that's a good thing. So we'll be able to store more things within our desks, and the classrooms are cleaned each evening and sprayed each evening, so I think that will be fine.
Yeah, to echo or to add on to Kathleen's point, some of those materials that students were coming home with, were to be used on a remote day. So now with students coming back and forth every single day, there won't be the same level of materials and supplies being sent home. But also, being aware that we want students to have their own manipulatives in school, just to cut down on any kind of contact or any kind of shared material in school. So there will be, a reduction, I would assume, in what's going home and coming back to school, but also being aware that we want kids to still maintain their own things when they're at school or at home.
I would just echo that as well. Our kids in their backpacks, when they bring in their snow gear and other stuff, it's like carrying a small U-Haul on their back. So we're going to try to minimize that, have them keep as much as they can at school. We do have a series of bags and buckets and bins that will be to the right of each student's desk, which they will be able to keep all their items in that they use periodically throughout the day for their learning. And then, as Kathleen mentioned, the devices would go back and forth, but we're really going to try to minimize as much back and forth as possible. To speak to the learning model change, there really, the increase in students within the context of the classroom has shifted some of the thinking for our educators, and they're trying to be creative with not small grouping in the sense that we can do small grouping, but alternatives to instruction that may require the entry of another learning professional, an ESP to help supplement with the reinforcement of skills and making sure that kids are able to grasp what's being delivered. So we're looking at that as well.
And lastly, I would just say, I think there's just going to be more continuity to our learning model, for students and for teachers, going, dropping the remote Monday, dropping an asynchronous day with a synchronous day, those variable, jumping from one model to the next, although we, I think students have gotten into a routine, having, 5 days of, students in front of a teacher, I think is going to provide a level of relief, continuity, for our students. So.
And the one thing I'll add just overall that's been discussed a lot is just recognizing that although these classes have had remote days together with the two cohorts, they have not been physically together. So there's been a lot of talk among the teachers about putting the time into the community of that class and into building the routines now that there are more numbers of kids in the room, but also, they haven't had that time together. So that's something that will also be happening, is that while teachers are very excited to keep moving with the curriculum and keep all the learning and teaching going, there's going to be time that's going to be devoted to routines and working sort of almost like the beginning of the year for certain aspects of things.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Stephanie, because another point that goes along with what you're saying is that some of the students may be returning, and this is a change for them, right? It's not each child is going to have the have a positive reaction on day one to all of the changes, and I'm hoping that there's going to be support to help with that cohesiveness, both for the teacher to have some support as well as for the student, because I guess at every age range, really, this is how they've been doing it for several months, and now we're going to say, here's the change. So I'm glad that there's some thinking and discussion and support for that.
Yeah, there definitely is. There's also discussion for the fact that for our students in the standalone remote, there's different emotions for them as well. So there's been a lot of conversation among the teachers and the administrators about paying attention to the sort of social emotional side of this transition as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because it will be a change, even for, as you said, Stephanie, for kids that had already been in person 2 days a week, while those cohorts haven't been together. So it's good to know that you all are thinking about that and planning for it. Keith, I think I can speak for the whole committee, and that we appreciate your commitment of that there won't be any snow in April. I actually recall snow in May one year, but I'm presuming your commitment will go, if it's for April, it'll actually include May. So that's good to know.
That is true.
Greg, I have I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wasn't sure if Kathleen Valente had something to add to.
I'm sorry.
I was just piggybacking on to what Stephanie had shared, making sure we don't know. Students are going to come in with different feelings, and some of our students haven't even entered into our buildings at all this year. And given the model that Southborough has, like our fourth graders haven't ever been in Neary. They've had video tours and they've communicated with their teachers virtually, but recognizing that students are going to be in different places. And yes, teachers are so aware and already planning community building activities and reviewing expectations, and we'll be working on that for the first couple of weeks, and further into that if need be, and just making sure that our behavioral specialists, our school psychologists, our student support teams are available to help and assist any students that need that extra assistance. So, and I think that's happening at all of our schools, but it's an important part of this process.
Again, it's really rewarding to hear this kind of planning going on. Kamali, I think you're back up.
Yeah, I think this may be a Mary Ellen question, but maybe each of the principals. But it's around like our recovery plans. Just like when we started school in the beginning in September. So what are the new plans if person is diagnosed as positive, and what are the changes that what are we doing for the whole classroom? Could you talk a little bit about that? What is the recovery plans and the quarantine plans and all of that in terms of learning?
Sure, I can talk about that. So nothing really has changed at the elementary school level for quarantine. If there's a positive case in an elementary school classroom, the entire classroom is quarantined. At the middle school, if they're in spaces that are closer than 6 feet, then we would have to do the contact tracing for each class that they're in and find the students that were within that 6 feet for greater than 15 minutes, and they would be considered close contacts. So in the elementary school, nothing's really changing, but at the middle school, it will be, whereas right now there are no close contacts in a classroom, there will be close contacts in the classroom identified.
Okay. Greg, I have a question about remote learners and the transition to in-person. I know that families that have students as remote learners now can continue if they choose. We already know from the surveys that there's some number of those folks, at least we saw it when we were going to the 4-day hybrid, undoubtedly going to 5-day be unlikely to change that much. So there will be some number transition from remote to in-person. What kind of flexibility exists? In other words, is this something that this decision has to be made now and it can't sort of trickle in over time? I know you can't go back and forth, but can you just provide a brief summary regarding that?
Sure. So first, at the elementary level, we have surveyed parents, and parents did indicate what learning model was appropriate for their family. So we have those numbers at the elementary level, pre-K through 5. And basically, we had very little shift from hybrid to standalone remote program. And we had a number of students move from the standalone remote program to increased in-person learning. So basically, with the 1+4 model, the families that selected that model will go to the 5-day model. So there are no changes at that grade level and learning model. We have closed enrollment to our standalone remote program at the elementary level for the reason that we need to have consistency in programming. We can't have students moving from the 5-day in-person model to the standalone remote program. So Stephanie has been working on that. At the middle school level, we will be asking families who are in the standalone remote program model if they want to switch to the 5-day in-person model at the middle school level. And a survey will be going out to those families most likely by the end of this week. And we'll need that data back by March 14th. And again, that is for planning purposes. So Principal Hershuk can plan and schedule and know what to expect in terms of class size and so forth.
Okay, thank you. I see Jen.
Yeah, I have a quick question, I think. Because of April vacation coming up at the end of the month, right after everyone's back, are there going to be any changes to kind of the policies if folks are traveling in terms of quarantining when they return, those kind of questions?
Sure, I can take that one. So recently the CDC and the Department of Public Health just this week updated their travel guidelines regarding quarantine. So the medical advisory team has talked about this at every time we've met, and we will be updating our guidelines Tuesday, March 16th.
Gary, I saw you with your mic off. Did I cut you off? If I did, I apologize.
Not at all. I thought Greg was throwing it my way, but no, you did not cut me off at all, Roger. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for hands over there. You know, I'm so focused on when I see a hand, right? That's where I go. All right. I just wanted to make sure.
Roger, could I just say a couple closing remarks around
Absolutely.
the topic? So first, I do want to thank the central office leadership team and principals for the tremendous amount of work and effort in planning, you know, from Dr. Ryan Horn and trying to figure out all these switches and the programming, to Keith, desks and HEPA filters, and working with principals, to Mary Ellen, the medical aspect of it, Becky, the financial, Heather, the people portion of it, and the principals for just trying to listen to teachers and educators and making sure that everyone's heard and listened to and our concerns are addressed. I also want to acknowledge our educators. Our educators are the most important people in our buildings. Sorry, principals. But they truly are the folks who work closely with our students. And I just want to commend the work that they've done all year long. It's been a shifting ground underneath us all year, and they've met the challenge with great professionalism and integrity. And this is one more shift, and just want to acknowledge their hard work and willingness to go along this journey on behalf of our kids. We're very fortunate. And then lastly, I'll just acknowledge any chance I get to acknowledge the medical advisory team. We're very fortunate to have an expert group of medical doctors who are providing us with expertise on a weekly basis. And I do think that much of our success is a result of the team's recommendations and guidance. So again, just want to acknowledge the hard work of our medical advisory team. And then lastly, parents. So parents have been incredible partners in this work, and just acknowledge that. I know it's been definitely a partnership like no other this year. So just want to thank parents for their patience and hard work and partnering with us along this unprecedented year.
Okay. Here. So, Katura, do we have anything on the master plan for tonight?
Oh, I thought that was taken off the agenda. No.
So through the chair, Roger, could I just have Mary Ellen give a quick update on screening and just a quick advertisement?
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
A quick little PSA here. So screening is going well. We have, the Southborough schools have really great participation, and it's rising weekly. This is just our second full week with 100% of all schools in. Trotter had went from 41 to 47% participation. Neary 54 to 58. Neary's the top one in the whole district. Woodward went from 49 to 52, and Finn almost doubled with 30 to 45. So, well, 1 1/4 ways there. So we do have, the participation is rising. It's great. We have found some asymptomatic positives through the screening. And so it is helping us there. I think that as we continue on, our goal is to get to 80% participation. We had 44% in the whole district. So if we can just increase that participation, I'm guessing by word of mouth is the best way to do it amongst the parents. And if you have questions about it, why we're doing it, it's just one more mitigation strategy where we can make our schools lowest risk. If we can find asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic people before they have the chance to spread the virus, I think that that's really the goal of this, is to see it's kind of a surveillance to see where our district is with our positive cases. So I think it's great. And we did have a little glitch in the road with the registrations, but that seems to have been smoothed out. So I'm happy with the way it's going, and hopefully it'll trend just the way the teachers did. We went from about 45% up, and now we're hovering right around 81, 82% each week. So.
Wow, that's really good news. Kamali?
Yeah. And I think that a lot of thanks goes out to the communication that was sent, and the principals doubled down and they resent the sign up info for the pool testing. I think that was helpful because seeing the information come from either the students, teachers, the direct teachers, as well as the principals, just it was helpful in having more people kind of see it and dive down and not mistake it for an update from the Greg. So I think that might have helped with that. One of the things that I wanted to ask Mary Ellen is about in the next communication that's going out, maybe there could be another share about mask wearing. There was a visual that was shared before that showed the proper placements and tips and styles of masks. So if something like that could be reshared now that we're going 5 days a week with full classrooms. The last question is around, I hate to do it, but I think that I've seen this posed, so I want to get it out there so you can have a chance to answer it. But the difference between opening the elementary schools in the March 22nd versus bringing back Trotter on the April 26th. So when we opened that way and had the staggered opening in the beginning of the school year, we gave reasonings on that. Could you maybe help someone who maybe has, does not agree with that stagger as to why that's going to happen this time?
Yeah, so I can speak to the decision around why April 26th. So first, we've had many conversations as a leadership team with principals and directors around what it takes to reopen an entire district pre-K through 8. And again, we're doing the same work pre-K through 8 in Northborough and at the regional high school. It's a tremendous undertaking. We've continued to consult with the medical advisory team. We always thought that moving elementary students to 5 days or 1+4 at the time made most sense because of the age of the students and the research around being 12 and under, they were less likely to be transmitters of the virus. And then we were phasing in the middle and high school on April 26th. And one of the reasons why April 26th was an important date for us was because we thought there was a high likelihood that our educators would have an opportunity to be vaccinated before they return to 5 days of in-person learning with middle schoolers and high schoolers. Our middle school and high school, and I know this is a Southborough meeting, we have many more students. They're more like adults. So that was a considering factor in our decision around April 26th. And then lastly, just the complexity of the schedules and the movement of classes and lunch at Trotter is just a little bit more challenging than at the elementary level. So it's just taking a little bit more time.
Thank you.
And then masks, I think you asked. So I think that's a Mary Ellen question.
Yes, that has come up recently, Kamali, in every meeting I've been in the past week or so. That something about doing a re-education about masks has been a topic. So we will be putting out re-upping those. Is it double masks, as that is what's recommended as is safer, but really it's really about the fit of the mask. I'll do a little PSA here now. If you have a well-fitted fabric mask, it's just as good as any KN95 that's not fitted. So really the fit of your mask is the most important part of your mask and wearing it correctly. So we will be doing some infomercials about that.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Any more questions from any committee members on the reopening, if you will, into in-person? Greg, do you have any more, or anyone have any more summary comments, or shall we move to the superintendent's report?
I think we are all set. Thank you.
All right. Well, then I guess back to you.
So in your packet is the enrollment report for, hang on, let me just get organized here, for the month of February. And we have 1,136 students, which is no change from last month, from February 2021. Also, I just would like to update the committee on the capital planning school research subcommittee, as you know, has been working on looking at the facilities in Southborough pre-K through 8 and thinking about what are the possibilities in terms of how those facilities can be used, and also how the school facilities fit in a larger master plan at the town level. As you know, as part of that work, we conducted a demographic study with NESDEC, and that report was presented in January to the committee, as you, I'm sure, recall. I do, after further conversations with NESDEC and after kind of revisiting the enrollment study update, quite frankly, I did lose confidence in some of the data in the report. And it is such important data for the town and the school committee to have and to feel like it's data with integrity, because we're using that data to make important long-term decisions. So I have recommended to Chairman Challen and connected with Katura Martin about looking for another company to do a demographic study. I've asked Becky Pellegrino to reach out to a number of our surrounding communities to see what experiences they have with other companies other than NESDEC. Becky has identified a few that we are planning on to interview and vet, and hopefully we will contract with to do, again, another demographic study, just to make sure that our data is accurate and has integrity as we make decisions for the future. And lastly, I've asked Katura Martin to be part of the interview committee of the enrollment companies that we're looking at. So again, doing a little more research and vetting of the company that we contract out with.
Questions? We're moving on to the general fund expenditure report.
I will turn it over to Becky for the FY21 monthly general fund expenditure report and the COVID-19 related unanticipated expenditures.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. As you review the FY21 monthly general fund report for the month ending February 28th, 2021, you will notice that we have $154,806.96, or 0.73% remaining on the bottom line of our operational budget. At the same time last year, we had $407,120, or 1.96% remaining. Over the past week, I've worked with the town of Southborough to move $568,082 from our operational budget to the town in anticipation of the issuance of the Finn boiler bond. So you will see a change in that reporting for next week, or rather for next month. But as of right now, there are no other areas in the budget where I have concerns in terms of any overages. And I didn't know if there are any questions before I moved on, or if you wanted to take a vote, Chairman Challen.
Are there any questions?
No.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the Southborough Public School District fiscal year 2021 budget monthly general fund expenditure report as of February 28th, 2021 until audited. Is there so moved?
This is Kamali, so moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second. It's Katura.
Moved by Kamali, seconded by Katura. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please. Katura?
Yes.
Kamali?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
I vote yes, so it's unanimous. Is there more on that, Becky?
Not on that, but I will present the COVID financial impact now.
Okay, please.
Okay, so we have been talking about the grants that we have received throughout this fiscal year. Most recently, we became aware of the ESSER 2 funds and also the state coronavirus prevention funds. We are now hearing of an ESSER 3 issuance that will come out of the stimulus package that is making its way through the Congress. We do not anticipate receiving those funds during this fiscal year. However, we are paying close attention to that funding as we are hearing that it could be approximately 2 to 2.5 times what we received in our ESSER 2 allocation. And there is no timeline as of yet as to when those funds can be expended until. So for the most part, we have really expended all of the school reopening grant funds, the remote learning technology essentials grant, and then also the state coronavirus prevention fund throughout the year, and then also in preparation for bringing students back over the next month or so. Our expenses are continuing to trend just as we had anticipated that they would be when we created these projections. There are no areas where we, again, are of concern, and the grant funds have been of great assistance to us in many of these categories. In terms of the school reopening grant, I did adjust this report compared to what was presented previously. As you can see, I have a column for the original budget that was submitted. What our year-to-date expenses are, the difference between those two, and then we've also, as the picture has become clearer as in terms of the spending on these items, we've also had to adjust our budget with DESE. And so I've also presented the adjusted budget that has been presented to DESE. Under the contractual services, this is really the one area where we have funds that remain to be spent in this fiscal year, and that is on the outside cleaning personnel that are assisting our custodial staff at the end of each day and each night. They come in and help to complete that deep clean that Keith and Mary Ellen and Greg had spoken about earlier in the school committee meeting. We've also focused on our professional development. As you know, those 10 days at the beginning of the year, and then also the days that were spread throughout the year have been of great benefit to our staff as they've transitioned to remote learning and hybrid learning. And then technology has been another area where we really focused on the school reopening grant. And then finally, this just again shows you that we have 14,000 remaining, but that will be spent down throughout the remainder of the school year. In terms of our preschool revolving account, you'll notice a difference this month where we have a slight deficit on the preschool revolving account of just about $3,500, and that is due to some additional staffing expenses that have been incurred. We would normally split that between the two towns, Northborough and Southborough. However, we did begin the year with a balance in our revolving fund account, so that account will be able to absorb that deficit at this point in time. And our tuition and our expenses are trending just as we would anticipate for this time of year. Tuition, as of the end of February, we had received approximately 55% of the tuition for this school year. And then our expenses were at about 63%. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on our food services program. We continue to trend in a positive direction with food services. As you can see, year to date, we have served 46,297 meals. We are looking at our budgets as we again, welcome our students back in 5 days a week, because we will anticipate seeing the numbers of meals being served dramatically increasing. We will also expect our expenses to increase as we are purchasing more food. However, our salaries should remain fairly stable. So we are hopeful with the food service program. And Keith, did you want to share anything on anything new happening in the schools?
Not anything new, but certainly we are going to try to keep our Monday pickup and our Wednesday pickup for the SARP family still intact. I think that's very important. So we are working with our cafeteria managers during this transition to make sure that takes effect. I do hope Becky's predictions are accurate, that our participation continues to be what the numbers reflect in these here, but I can't say enough about what the Monday pickup program has meant to the overall program. It has been, definitely beneficial, without a doubt. So we are going to manage the meal pickup program for the SARP families during this transition. And like I said, the hope for more participation during the 5 days a week will hopefully net us the same amount.
And if there are any questions at this time.
No questions? Are we, then we're done with the budget information, Becky?
Yes.
So
from my perspective, I think there is FY22 budget information on the agenda.
Yeah, we've got 22 calendar and we've got the 22 budget.
So just a quick note on the budget calendar. We have one major milestone left in the budget process, and that is the town meeting, which is scheduled for May 22nd at this time. And as soon as I receive more details, I will forward those to the committee members. And then lastly, in your packet is the FY22 line item budget for your review. And that is concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, next on the agenda is educational policy, which we have none at this time on the agenda. Policy development and or distribution. Where are we there? Looks like we've got second readings.
So Roger, just one comment. So we did add the public comment feature on our website around the policies that were being moved forward as first reads and second reads. We did not receive any public comment on the policies that are listed on the agenda this evening. And we'll continue to find ways and opportunities for the community to provide input and feedback around the policies that we move forward. So we are working diligently on increasing participation in public comment on our policies.
All right. So I guess we just have those 4 items presented for second readings. So personnel items.
So distribution of personnel items is in your packet. So we have some appointments as a result of some of the shifting landscape around returning to in-person learning, a transfer, and then a resignation with a head custodian at Trotter Middle School. And Heather, I'm not sure if there's anything you would like to add to the report.
I don't think so. It's pretty straightforward.
All right. Is there anything on communications?
We just one communication through Keith Lavoie and some work that's happening with Mass DOT.
Yes, just a quick update for the committee. Just want to let you know about the Mass DOT Accelerate Bridge Replacement Program that's happening in town. I had the pleasure of accompanying Principal Ryan over to where the work is beginning in town. I don't know if anyone lives near Woodland and Oregon Road, but they have started the work over there of doing the abutments to the bridges that are part of the I-90 underpass. The way this is kind of transitioning in the next couple of weeks is that they are going to be starting some of the preparation work to the same underpass at Parkerville Road, which is it's a few hundred feet away from the Finn School. So what Principal Ryan and I did today is actually assess the noise level of what that would be. And pleasantly, we were surprised to know that the traffic itself on the I-90 overpass was actually louder than the construction itself. So we do not anticipate any interruption at all to the service at Finn. We've also notified NRT about any type of bus impact, but we are not anticipating that it would have any genuine impact on our start or end of the school day. I just have to thank Mass DOT and their partners. It has been a pleasure working with them, incredibly responsive, want to make sure it works for the school. So I'm sure that if we do encounter an issue, Clayton will be in touch with me quickly and we will get a response practically immediately. So we are predicting that this will have minimal interruption, but we never know. And we'll see how the next couple of weeks goes with this preparation work, which we do intend it does intend to be the most disruptive out of the entire project. And then from that point on, it should be smooth sailing with the actual replacement happening over the summer months. So that's what we're anticipating for the impact to the schools. Clayton, did I capture everything accurately?
No, Keith, I think you did. Yeah, great summary. I think the traffic pattern with one directional flow being supervised and facilitated by our Southborough PD. We witnessed that as well, went smoothly. We talked to them about our timing in terms of arrival and dismissal, and they're really working to accommodate our needs. So I was as impressed with their level of professionalism and support.
Any more comments or questions on that? All right. We have two actually sets of minutes to act on this evening. We've got the special open meeting minutes of January 28th and the open meeting minutes of February 10th. Do any committee members have any comments on either of those? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve both the special open meeting minutes of January 28th, 2021 and the open meeting minutes of February 10th, 2021. Is there a so moved?
So moved.
Moved by Jess. Is there a second?
Second, this is Kamali.
Second by Kamali. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Keturah?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
Kamali?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
I vote yes. That's approved unanimously. I don't see any specific agenda items for next month. I see that we have obviously what was the school choice public hearing and vote in May. I think we'll keep master plan as a placeholder. Anything anyone wants to add at this point, either committee members or Greg?
So just a recommendation around an update on the school improvement planning work that is taking place. I know that we're slated to present the school improvement plans in the fall, but a tremendous amount of work is happening behind the scenes. And I think just an update on some of the work that's happening, I think would be important for the committee to hear.
Okay. I'm sure we'll have an update on the move to in-person from the K through 5 transition. Any other business anyone would like to bring up before we move to audience sharing? Okay, hearing none. We have audience sharing. I'm trying to scan through again. I do not see any hands up. Anyone in the meeting here have anything to share? All right. So I think we've come to the end. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you ahead of time for the, for the transition that's going on regarding the K through 5 in person. And I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn. Anyone?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Katura moves. Is there a second?
Yeah, Jen seconds.
And Jen seconded. All right, roll call vote. It's 7:56. Katura?
Yes.
Kamali?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Jessica?
Yes.
And I vote yes. So we are adjourned at 7:56. And again, thank you very much.